we just learned this morning that OpenAI is opening up its doors for businesses, and that's like something new. And I mean, it was about time that they started talking about what they can use in terms of how can they leverage the existing relationship that they have created over the course of the last year and a half or two, and then start opening it up for larger enterprises and even small customers to actually do it.
Okay, anyway, welcome to episode 3.2 minus Jitesh. So this is AMS. I've got Akash Bhatt, who's got oily skin today at night. He hasn't been moisturizing really well. Suhas, whose eyes I can see, has just woken up. He lives in different time zones. And me, Manav BFF. Anyway, today we're going to start talking about Auto GPT. But before that, Akash, do you want to give a prompt about the recent announcement that was made by OpenAI?
Yeah, we just learned this morning that OpenAI is opening up its doors for businesses, and that's like something new. And I mean, it was about time that they started talking about what they can use in terms of how can they leverage the existing relationship that they have created over the course of the last year and a half or two, and then start opening it up for larger enterprises and even small customers to actually do it. Now, the only caveat there is that it seems that it isn't as differentiated from a regular chat GPT now. They're just introducing the same privacy controls that they have on their API, and they won't train their models on enterprise customer data. So basically, what that means is that they will definitely have the capability to expand into use cases, but it won't be a direct threat to anybody who's trying to build vertical based solutions. So it's going to still lay on top of like most like layers which companies can function on. It's adding that chat gpt kind of like ability within ecosystems, but it's not going to be capable, or it won't be capable of delving deeper into anything that most people in their regular functions will want them to do. Like, for example, if you're talking about product managers or customer success people or dev ops guys, it won't be going in deep. It'll just be providing you like surface level searchable data within your own ecosystem, but it's not going to start helping you like do auto gpt kind of like stuff, which we'll talk in a moment.
Can you give a more detailed example of this on if you had to use it, if you're, say, a bank, for example, you have huge data concerns, and due to compliance, you can't be sharing that much data outside, and you want to leverage GPT for business. Can you think of an example that can come handy there?
Yeah, the problem also with working with, let's say, banks or large enterprise customers is that every use case is going to be different for every internal employee. What I mean by that is certain people, even within an organization, will want data to be hidden from people within the organization itself for a variety of reasons. Now, once you start providing access internally to everything, like say knowledge bases and data, or any sort of like disparate information sources within a company ecosystem, you will now start. Now, the tech team probably will need to start building permissions or blocking certain people off from seeing certain amount of data. That is where the complexity actually kicks in, because it's going to be very difficult in terms of building those. I haven't seen, they haven't obviously released this, they probably are doing this in beta, but when they do release it, if a huge if they provide these API call functions, or if they're able to like create these tokens where people can build on top of and say we are limiting permissions to like certain things, then sure, you might be able to like still circumvent some of these privacy challenges. But if they don't, it's as good as saying you're selling an enterprise grade solution to an enterprise and then asking various teams from data to your tech infrastructure teams to start then building permissions on top of their own key functions so other people are not able to see. So you're adding more complexity, which basically then also means that the adoption rate is going to be longer. The time it takes to onboard everybody internally is going to be longer, and eventually people may not want to do it. So that could be the killer. I'm not again, we have not seen what the business capability can actually look like. It's just an announcement. But if that comes into the being that we're, based on rumors, it's just going to be a layer that sits and helps you like search internal data, then it's not going to like be a threat to like most large enterprises, because it's just going to be Google built internally. As simple as that. Google search feature built internally on top of your existing knowledge bases.
Yeah. I think one other example of where, on the enterprise, why this was necessary. One thing that went viral is Samsung employees, right? They published, I think, internal source code, and this went, I think, it's still unverified. It's from local Korean media, but on three different occasions, Samsung employees apparently like copied source code from their semiconductor code, and asked ChatGPT to help fix it. And someone else, while searching for a solution, came across this, right? So they accidentally leaked internal source code into the public, which then became searchable. So that's why I think this privacy concern became so important. And second is also nations, right? You know how GDPR is in Europe. Um, I think there is some push for an incognito version of ChatGPT that is going to come up from privacy enthusiasts, right? So I think one enterprise bit for sure, like what Akash shared. But second, I think one version of it will have to come in where users will have to have more control. Today, OpenAI had free control over everyone's data, right? How has it trained? It has trained on all the data that you and me have probably published online. Like, why did Elon Musk come out so publicly saying that they've trained it on Twitter data for free and they're going to make billions out of it, right? So, whoever is in the media industry who's created so much content, OpenAI is going to make billions off this without giving a penny back to them, right? So, I think these are two concerns that people are looking at, and that's why they had to come up so far. But I'm super impressed with the way they're shipping, though the pace they're shipping with. I think it's a massive like shift in the way we're seeing big organizations ship. Right? If you see OpenAI, uh, within the span, right before plugins came, we used to see so many decks saying, "Okay, dude, we're building plugins on top of GPT." Then within like the next 2 months, they've removed this business version where there are two people in our community itself who have been building this specific feature, right? Um, of internal GPT for your teams, internal GPT for your organization. And now, if like OpenAI comes out with this, then they'll have to figure. So I think it's very, very interesting. The speed at which they've been executing is very, very interesting too.
Yeah, super interesting. And Akash, to your point, and Suhas's to yours, I think I'll just join both of them. Like how you said, there is this whole internal data search, etc., which is going to be created through business and something like a layer which is sitting on top of it. But what does how does AutoGPT plug in with that to go one step and beyond for internal organizations? What are the use cases that you are seeing or you think are going to be possible now? Keeping the business side plus the Auto GPT side both in tandem and coming together, because, like Suhas said, it's getting shipped so fast. Tomorrow there's going to be another edge case which might come out of this.
You kind of did that, didn't you? Because what you literally try to do now is combine what Suhas said, what I said, and try to like do something like can make sense of it. You're chaining two different like answers and responses to come up with like a third one. That's technically what, if you think about it, what Auto GPT kind of does, because it's, if that's like the most simplest form, right? But if I were to give like a proper definition to it, it's basically taking natural language commands, breaking that down into subtasks, and then utilizing the power of the internet as well as your own internal ecosystem, and then trying to do a task. Like, for example, I think Manav, you heard this pitch when I was talking to you about a week and a half ago, wherein a simple command, for instance, wherein you could say, hey, we have this call going on right now. Now, after this call, summarize the conversation, add that conversation to a CRM, tag Jitesh because he's not here, and then schedule a next call a week from now, and then something else, like some other maybe task, right? So what you're basically trying to do is using a single line command in natural language and then trying to automate a bunch of like repetitive tasks that most people will end up doing. Now you're breaking that down into like subtasks on its own, and then auto gpt is then going to like try and understand what's the best way to do it and then end up doing that particular task. It's as simple as that, and there are multiple ways to do it. You can chain multiple llms for different use cases. Now, that's the fundamental concept of AutoGPT. But then the bigger function and where most companies will actually be born is leveraging that overall infrastructure. I said this like a few weeks ago as well. OpenAI is going to be very similar to AWS. It's not going to like eliminate and make jobs go away. It's going to give rise to like more opportunities, more jobs, more key functions, more automations, more complex workflows that you wouldn't have ever thought about. And that's what OpenAI and ChatGPT 4 and everything is going to do. And how this will end up working is it's very simple. Like, it requires you to put in like a simple task or a simple command, and it will try and use different LLMs to understand how it can break that task down and then eventually continue to do that task.
Okay, but automations will usually come with you using lesser workforce, no? So, are you saying new opportunities are going to open up? So, like, what kind of opportunities might open
Um, Opportunities. See, I'll give you an example because this is a space that I've been looking into quite a bit. I'll give you customer success as an example here, right? So when you take a look at like CS teams, the macro trends kind of indicate that most companies today are either trying to eliminate customer success jobs or trying to reduce customer success headcount. Now, if you take the example of ServiceNow and Snowflake, both of them have gone against the status quo, come out and said, we're going to slash customer success as a function altogether
Fair
because
enough.
we don't think it's an independent function in and of itself. We want our solutions engineers, our sales engineers, our executives, and our sales reps, and including our account managers to manage all of those renewals, churn, growing accounts, and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But in order for you to still do that, you need underlying tools to help you navigate through those workflows. Now, while it will eliminate certain functions within organizations, it's going to make you more efficient more than anything else. So what it's giving rise to is this 10x sort of a person. So you could be a sales engineer, but your role and responsibility tomorrow is going to look very different from what it looked today. So how I view maybe ChatGPT or any of these LLMs going to play a bigger role is what key function you're playing today is not going to be what you play tomorrow. A product person will do a little bit of sales, a little bit of customer success, a little bit of ops, a little bit of DevOps, and a little bit of like something else. And similarly to an engineer's role is not going to be just pure like coding or something else that they continue to do on a day-to-day basis. They'll have to do a little bit of like everything. How do you do that everything? For you to then continue to like learn different things on the go, on the fly, is going to be very different. Some people are going to be technical, and the technical people may not be able to like understand and have all the skill sets of what a salesperson may do. And a salesperson or a customer success person, or somebody in a product role, may not have all the technical capabilities to understand what happens. So you will still need that underlying tool set, underlying layer that will help you do your job better. And that's where I feel AutoGPT or companies that get built on this layer are going to help people do a better job. And that's at least my thesis and how I'm looking at it. It's really going to create key step function changes to like most roles within organizations.
Nice. Which is fair, I think. Which is which is where I think it is going forward to. But I still think there will be a slight shift in the numbers that you're looking at your workforce. One, because of macro, we're already seeing this. Two, if you're saying efficiency is coming in, you know for a fact, okay, volume is going to go down, right? And maybe, like you said, each function will get leveled up in themselves, right? And that's where efficiency comes from. Uh, Manual jobs, we will see some redundancies, and then people are saying even like for coding, right? If Auto GPT is going to do everything for you, then you will need specialized tech folks for sure. but lots of our workforce today is still not very high level coding, right? So do you think there is,
Yeah,
automation will come in there as well? So it's going to be white collar as well, not just blue collar. White collar also needs to step up.
there'll always be a human in the loop, in my opinion. I don't think it's going to eliminate humans
Not 100%.
completely,
Yeah. If there
right?
were
Not
10 people
100%.
needed for, yeah, correct.
It'll reduce headcount for sure. And when you start
That's it.
reducing headcount, that's where most companies who are building on top of that layer can actually head towards like value based pricing. They start
Mhm.
orienting their business models and saying, we will help you cut costs and we'll take a portion of that, and so that we can monetize on our side. And that will be like your classic way of showing somebody the value proposition of what you're truly bringing to the table. Because as companies also grow, you're not going to see a 20,000, 30,000 workforce going forward. You'll probably see one third of that, or like one fourth of that in some cases. But you will just find everybody being 2x 3x better, because you'll all have co-workers, you'll all have co-pilots. Everyone's going to be 10x the person they are, not because they are smarter. It's because this AI layer is making them incredibly productive and incredibly smart. And that's going to be game changing for like most people who otherwise wouldn't have like done that role. You will still have the dead weights in companies, and those are the people who will unfortunately get cut out of the jobs that, are easy to like throw away. So you will really need to be on top of your game. And we're just seeing the version one, right? This is just V1 of what um, ChatGPT or any of these OpenAI models can like do. Wait for another 3 4 years, we probably will be seeing and talking about something totally different. So as you were just telling me that, or one of you was just saying that, how quickly they're coming out with all of these models and capabilities. Can you imagine what's going to happen in 2 years?
Yeah, yeah, no, 100. I agree. I think same belief, and I think it's not just tech. Like we're focusing so much on tech, but you guys might have seen how one of these Kanye West videos also went viral, which was completely generated by AI. Right? They went and won a competition. This was just about a week ago, and then another artist with about 1.3 million followers on Twitter came out and said, like one side there was complete uproar from artists, right? Like what is happening and how could this happen types. But the other side, this guy came out and said that I have no problem. Y'all can use these models created with my voice, and I'm happy to do revenue sharing. So you see the way they're looking at it, right? Some of them are completely opposing, saying that hey, we will not be able to adapt to this, and like you're saying in V1 itself, we were there, but there are others on the there are people, there are artists on the other end who are adapting to this and saying that okay, hey, use this, create, let's do revenue sharing, right? I have the distribution, I have
Yeah.
my brand, and just like I would share with a record label, you guys are my record label today, so you create, let's see what we can do together. So I think that is very very interesting to see.
The record
Yeah, so
labels are
I have one.
really pissed off about this, because they've always tried to come in and try to regulate things massively, right? With Napster back in the day, they tried to like kill Napster. They tried to like kill Spotify for the longest period of time. They killed Tidal because Tidal tried to do and take money away from them by giving more power to the artist. And you bring up a very interesting point there, Suhas, because think about it, right? Tomorrow you probably might be viewing movies which look extremely real, with facial expressions as if there's an actor involved in it, but it's just generated by AI. Now, will you be pissed off that you're not seeing Shah Rukh Khan actually act, but an AI do a better version of Shah Rukh Khan? I think it's fantastic, because you can still watch a 20, 30-year-old Shah Rukh Khan when he's actually 80 years old, and you can keep people alive and have that storyline keep coming back for more. This Hollywood will probably catch up to has to catch up to it at some extent, but we're already seeing that with animated movies. They're so freaking real. Japanese manga and all of these other, studios like Ghibli and all of these guys will eventually have to jump onto this wagon, because otherwise they're going to be left behind. You'll have another studio just come out and make great stories, because at the end of the day, stories win when you think about content. So as we were talking about applications of Auto GPT and Chat GPT and how AI can really transform, I'll go out on a limb and say that content is going to change dramatically. Audio, video, engaging. We're not even touching the metaverse, and that's really where probably the massive potential also lies. But we will see a lot of these changes coming about. Whoever doesn't adapt is probably going to be left behind, and it only takes like one hit for everybody to like jump onto that bandwagon. For the longest period of time, when animated studios came out with like animated picture, the traditional film industry didn't like it because they were like, hey, it's eliminating our jobs. But now it's about you creating that one great persona for yourself and replicating that in different scenarios. And that's a great way for a brand at the end of the day. Like if you're Tom Cruise, for example, you can actually be seen on multiple screens without actually being on it. Like a Shah Rukh Khan and Salman Khan have gone on record and said, I will never be seen on TV acting. They'll host TV shows, but they'll never act on TV. Maybe a persona of them will end up being on television, and that is what we'll get to watch. It might actually not be them, but you're still able to like satisfy. It just takes one person to like get that ball rolling, and you'll probably end up seeing that happen very soon, and I'm very optimistic about that.
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be challenged with a lot of legal battles, but we'll find some form in the end of it, I guess. So that's gonna happen. I have one last question, and it's a little off Auto GPT and the other, GPT for business, but just to understand, do you guys, in a very long shot, do you see a potential for Chat GPT to have any form of a physical experience change? And what I mean by a physical experience change, where it can be, if you look at all the large companies such as Google also launches a phone. It also tries to change some what of your physical engagement for users, because all of this is right now audio, visual, sensory, and that's how it is, and that's the only experience. But you can't touch, feel, or have an experience of smell by GPT anywhere around you right now. So if you had to have a long shot on that, do you think there's a potential there? And if it can be, what can it be?
I think the answer to that is yes. I do see potential of it because we've seen robots already, right? We've seen robots doing mechanical work on in warehouses. They're trying to do a lot of these industrial automation kind of stuff. Now you're just adding a real brain to it, if you think about it.
It's like Black Mirror's back.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. It's one of those scary dystopian futures that we've been watching in movies come to reality way sooner than we actually think it'll happen. Like the whole movie Her can be happening in like next 2 to 3 years or maybe sooner. But I do see that physical robots having a brain is not a distant reality. And that's one of the physical use cases that you can end up seeing of how these are coming to life. But even beyond that, right? Think about just shopping experiences. Like you'll start eliminating people behind all of these unfortunate salespeople who are in these shops, because at the end of the day, your experience can think about what Amazon's doing right now at Whole Foods already, right? I was at Whole Foods today in the evening, and when I was checking out, and I think they rolled this feature out early this month, every Whole Foods across the US now you can pay by your hand. And they were only
Insane.
Sorry?
I'm saying that's insane.
Yeah, and they were only experimenting that in Manav, your voice is echoing. Yeah. So they were only experimenting that in Seattle and a few other places. Now you can pay by your hand. And it's easy. You go onto the app, you show, it'll just take your biometrics, and simple for you to do it. Or you go to one of the locations and you can do the biometrics. And now imagine that experience when you're walking into like a mall, walking into a store. You enter by showing your palm or your biometrics, and the entire experience inside is personalized for you. Like the moment you walk in, instead of the person asking, "Sir, what can I get you?" literally what they have information to is what you're surfing on your phone, what you're surfing on the internet. Imagine the moment you walk into a Nike store, it tells you the 3 products that you have actually come there to see without even anybody asking you what do you want to see. Your in-person experience is going to mirror the recommendation experience that you're now seeing on apps. That I think is going to be the fucking massive potential of what this is going to do. I'm looking forward to that. I want that to happen because I don't want to interact with anybody. I don't want to wait for somebody to be like, yeah, I want shoes number 10, this particular color. It already knows what I want because it's in my favorites. It knows this. It tells me that, hey, here's what you're looking for. That experience is not far away, man. That I think is going to happen in the next couple of years, and whoever is working on that, game changing. It's going to really make everyone's life easy, and unfortunately it's going to put a lot of people out of jobs. That's the part where it'll put a lot of people out of jobs. And I do feel there'll be like one or two people just monitoring these shops, but no one's going to be selling stuff to you. It's all going to be completely personalized because they have information on your device, and the device is now going to be connected largely to this internet or this GPT kind of like open ecosystem. Now the whole world knows what you can do. Now that experience multiplied by everything else that you do, not too far away.
Yeah, I think Snapchat just announced, no, they've put out mirrors in a lot of retail shops or are planning to in 2023. Right from, I don't remember the brands that it's launching with, but think of your Nikes, etc., where you walk in. I think that it'll start with women apparel for sure, but you walk in and there's a mirror, a Snapchat mirror, and they have all the integration set in. You have personalizations from right go. Maybe that will also sit in with. I don't know if there's GPT integration in that yet, but I can just imagine, right? You walk up, say that, hey, where can I find this? Or, today I'm coming here to shop X, what are some of my options? And standing in the mirror, it'll show you some of the latest collections, how that'll look on you. So I think it's very, very interesting. Uh, we can have an entire episode on science fiction but in 2023 and how that'll look like, because honestly I think the pace with which things are moving is super fast. Like you mentioned, we're still maybe see, I know people were talking about AI for the longest time, and what we're seeing is just one application that's blown up. But maybe this is what was necessary, right? Maybe we don't need something that is very, very advanced. Even stuff like this, it does feel today like a virtual assistant, right? It does help you. If not for 10x, it helps you 1.5x your productivity for sure, right? Today, Akash, if you are doing a podcast script, you can do it with so much more um, efficiency. Today, if I'm writing a PRD, I know I can do. If today someone else is doing research, all of us have research as some part of our profile, right? It cuts down your time. So I think it's definitely a productivity booster. Now for the masses, where will it come to a point where it becomes into maybe a day to day reality or day to day productivity booster? I think that is yet to be seen, right? For example, even in your phones, you have Siri, you have Google Assistant, which is to a certain extent something that can help you with a lot of stuff. But do a lot of us use it? I'm not too sure, right? So I think we can do an entire episode on this, but and we should, right? I think this one's been very, very interesting. We thought we'll just do a short one, and I know this is going to extend, so we will do part two of this. With the way things are exploding, I think there'll be lots to chat around. And one thing I'd love to chat is how you guys are. I think one of our next episodes we should chat about just productivity stacks, right? And if you guys have been using this, maybe we could also integrate that with, okay, hey, how are we using GPT in our daily lives? I think that should be one of our chats. But fantastic morning session. Thanks, boys, for
Yeah.
this. Uh,
I
good
actually,
start to the day.
I wanted to say something, but Jitesh is not here. He would have really loved to hear this. There's this company which is doing parallel reality called Misapplied Sciences, which is part of Scrum Ka portfolio. Very ambitious, deep tech kind of a project. So what they basically do is they create these smart screens wherein you and I can be looking at the same screen, but it's going to be displaying two different things for us. Okay, and the way that it's able to do the technology in and of itself is like very proprietary, and it's now being installed in airports across the United States. So they have partnered in Tokyo with one airport, and then they partnered with I want to say Dallas or Chicago, one of the two airports, if I'm not wrong. And now it's such a cool experience center because instead of going and standing and looking at that arrival departure board, every time you just walk out, you just know where to go. And that's the kind of experience that I'm talking about that gets replicated across like different you know,
Personalization.
personalizations. And they were doing it with
Really
that screens, and now you add AI on top of that. It's just next level shit.
crazy. I'd love to check this out, dude. I have no idea how this is working, but it's going to be crazy.
Check it out. It's called Misapplied Sciences.
It's applied. I'll check it out. Okay, awesome. Thanks for this,
You
boys. We
guys,
will, yes, sync really,
Thanks,
really
guys.
soon.
we'll do a
And
part two.
yep, for
All
sure.
right. Love you.